All right, so for this next section here, let me bring this a little closer. I'm going to cover the CSS, just some other common properties that you might use. If you want to see all of them, you can go click on this and go to W3 Schools, and it'll give you it's a more comprehensive list, if you will. This is not going to be so much that. All right, I'm going to continue using Dreamweaver for this class, even though I know you should be doing this at home, but I think it's just easier. So first thing first, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an external CSS sheet so that you guys can kind of see how that works. So I'm going to go to here, and you remember I have this dummy page here, so from the previous section. So I'm just going to get rid of everything that's inside the body. So we start off with nothing. And I'm going to get rid of all this style sheet stuff too. All right. Okay. So yeah. So let's do this. I'm going to do File. Save this real quick, and I'm going to do File New, and this time I'm going to do a CSS, okay? And let me see, I've actually never done it this way. Create. All right, so there it goes. It says that, and then we can start with our CSS. So I'm just going to go ahead and just do body, and I'm just going to say background color and antique white. Let's see what that does. All right, and I'll save that. Now, I'm going to do Control-Shift-S or File, Save As. And what you're going to notice is it automatically, again, went to class example because I had set that to my, I set it to my thing there, my local folder. So I should have another folder in here called CSS. So New Folder, and just call it CSS, not 3 S's, unless you're a snake. Okay, CSS. Open up in there, and then we're going to call this Styles. Styles. Okay. Beauteous. Okay, now let's go back here, and I'm just going to tell that to go away. I'm going to insert just a heading 1, just like that, so that we have something. Now what I need to do is I need to attach my external CSS that I just made. So to do that, I'm going to go to the CSS Designer, click on Sources, and we're going to attach an existing CSS file. And I'm going to hit Browse, and I'm going to go to CSS, and we're going to select this guy, and hit OK, and then hit OK. So now that is now attached, and voila, there you see it right there. Isn't that super awesome? And you can see it right here as well, so it's link href, horizontal reference. For whatever reason, it uses kind of the similar thing that you had seen in the other ones. Put the fan on here because it's getting a little hot. And then CSS is the folder, styles.css, relationship is a style sheet, the type is text/CSS. Okay, so now when we do our, and I'll say it real quick, now when we do our CSS, it's actually going to be this sheet, not this sheet. Okay, so we're going to just do it through all external stuff, which is actually kind of annoying, but we're going to do it that way anyway. Okay, so the first property here that I'm going to look at is background image. Basically what it'll allow you to do is that instead of using just a background color, you can have a background image. There's a couple different options here. You can have it just be, you can have it repeat, which means it'll repeat in X and Y. You can have it repeat just in X, which means only horizontally. Means you can have it repeat just Y, that's up and down. You can see these here match up to this here. Background attachment, you can do fixed or scroll. Background position, top left, bottom right. So right here, there's the position. And you have background, this is just the shorthand. The one thing I do kind of want to make a point about is this fixed versus scroll. What you'll notice is if you look at, which one is it? This one right here. If you look real closely, what you'll see is, let me do this. Man plus. Okay. When I scroll, oops. Do you see that it's actually scrolling behind it? So I'm sure you kind of have seen that before, you know, in other sites and stuff. So I'm just going to set it up here. I'm just going to do it using the page properties and background image. So I'm going to browse and class example, images, and then what I got, I'll use this dude and hit OK. And now you can see we have the options for repeat. Let's do no repeat and hit apply. And okay, then we'll hit OK. And I was hoping it would pop up anyway. All right, so no repeat just made it happen once. That's cool. I'm going to also add a P element here. So don't worry about this. Where's the lorem ipsum? Here we go. Add. Let me insert a P paragraph, and I'm going to add inside of this P element some lorem ipsum. Boop. Just so it's a lot of text. Okay, just so we have something in there. Okay. So that's no repeat. But if I instead did repeat, it will repeat it over and over and over again as many times. Okay. Another thing you do is, let me see if it's an option here, because I gotta do it this way because I don't use it all the time and I don't see it in there. All right, never mind. I do it manually. Is the background position, whether it's fixed or not. You know what we can do? I'll select body. I'm just gonna do it through the CSS designer because I actually don't remember what the code is exactly. And then I'm gonna scroll down and let's see layout here, and let's see. I'm gonna scroll down until I get to background image. Wait, background. This one. Background color, background image. You can see it's right there. I'm not going to be using gradient. Background position, size, background repeat. You can see they have all repeat, only repeat X, repeat Y, no repeat. Background origin, background attachment. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go ahead and do scroll. Okay, and what that's going to do is I'm going to show you this way. Google Chrome again. Yeah. You see, it won't load it up unless you save it. First, it's not going like it's going to do much of anything, but watch this. If I take this, let's see if I can get this down enough. Okay. When I scroll, you can see it scrolls with it. All right. Now we're going to go like this, and instead of scroll, we're going to do fixed. Okay. Now hit save. I'm going to go back here, refresh it. Now watch what happens when I scroll. The background stays still. All right. So that's kind of a neat little thing that you can do, and you'll see. I'll show you how this will be beneficial later. Okay, so basically you can do a background image. You can have it repeat or not repeat. You get kind of the idea. Okay. There's list style properties. So basically, you would do list style type, and then there's upper Roman, lower Roman, upper alpha. You can see the examples down here. I'm not going to bother typing them all up, but you can kind of see, and you can even use list style image URL. So here you can see I use these smiley faces for my bullet points. So you just have to have in your images a really small picture. Obviously, you don't want it really large, and that could be your bullet point instead. So that's useful for, like, let's say you want to do something that's like a checklist and you want to make like little graphics for checks and little graphics for X's. You could actually use that, and instead. So you could do list style type. There's also an narrated image and position. So the difference between position is that by default, it would be outside, which means that you have the bullet point, and then you see how everything lines up after it. But if you do inside, the bullet points will be lined up with the content as well. So I don't usually worry about that. All right, normal flow. So normally, as we've been writing our stuff, our content and what have you, we've generally have been using... Hang on a second, I gotta back this up. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this text actually, just so I have something to work with. We generally have just been, we just been going with whatever flow it is. Okay, so it just goes from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Okay, but you can actually adjust the position of things this way. Okay, so using the position property. So to show you, these are basically the options here. So static just is regular normal flow. Relative does it in relative position. So I'm going to, actually I'll just copy this section here. Control C and Control V. Okay. And I'm going to, well, you know what? These should actually be tabbed in. So I'm going to grab both of these and just hit tab. Just so you know, if you hit Shift tab, it does the opposite. It'll go backwards. So if you need to go, in the other direction, you can just do it that way. Okay. So now I have these two paragraphs, and I'm also going to take this background thing here. And get rid of that because that's kind of in the way. All right, so now I got these two pieces of stuff. Now right now they are in what we'd call static. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this one here. Come on, here we go. I'm gonna grab this one just to use it as an example. I'm gonna add a class to it, and I'm just gonna call it so I have the little plus. I'm gonna call it I don't know, par2 for second paragraph. Enter, enter. And then it added .par2. Okay. Now, I could do it this way. I'm not going to do it this way, though. We'll do it over here. So, go over here, and it was .par2. Okay. So we can do position, and then you'll see absolute, fixed, relative. Let's do relative. And then what will happen is when I do top, this is how we define. I'll do top and I'll do 50px, and we'll do left, and I'll again do 50px. Okay. Now, because it's relative, it'll do it relatively from where it would be in normal flow, because obviously it happens after this. Okay. So top just means it's going to push off from the top 50. Left means it's going to push from the left 50. You can also do from the right, and you can also do from the bottom, but top and left are kind of easier to see because for obvious reasons. Okay. So we have that. Now watch what happens if I change this to, let's say, absolute. What it'll do is it'll say absolutely from the top of the page, and it pulls it out of what we call normal flow. Now it doesn't care where any of the other elements are. It's just absolutely always going to be from the top here and the side here. Okay. Now let's say we do okay, let's say we do fixed. Now it looks like it did the same thing, but it is a little bit different, and this is why. Let me preview this again. Okay, whatever. Okay, is this, if it's fixed, it means it doesn't scroll. See how that text is moving with me now, just like that when we did the fixed background image. Now that's different than if I do absolute. Oops, absolute, and then let's just go back here and I'll just refresh this. Absolute means it'll move with it. It's just absolutely from the top of the page. Fixed means it's from the top of where you're viewing, the viewport. Okay, so that's really useful. Using that fixed position if you want to do a sticky header. You know, sometimes you'll see a nav bar and it'll be on the top, and as you scroll, it's always on the top. It just stays there. Or like when you have a really annoying, stupid ad and it just moves with you as you try to scroll through the page. Yeah, that's how they're doing it. They're doing fixed. Bastards. All right. So let's go back to this. All right, Z index. Basically what that means is 0 to whatever. It's how you put something in front of something else. 0 would be all the way to the back, and then 10 would be above 0, or 1 would be above 0. The thing is, if you want to use Z index, you have to first say position. And you can make it position static or position relative, even if you want to keep it in the same flow. But you can't just straight write Z index. It won't work. Okay? So here are some examples here. So if you look, here's the browser view. This is a relative example. I'm sorry, this is normal flow. So this is static. So if I just did position static, this is how the paragraphs look. If I do relative, you can see it pushes that where it was down and over. Okay. If I do absolute, it'll make it absolutely to the top of the browser. Okay. And if I do fixed, no matter if I scroll up and down, you can see it keeps it in that same position. Okay. Another thing we can do is the display property, which basically allows us to force something to be inline or block or inline block. I'll show you what that would be. So right now, I'm going to take these attributes off of second paragraph. Okay, so now it's like normal here. So normally a paragraph element is a block level. So what that means is that when I do another paragraph, it automatically starts a new line. You can see if I hit enter here, has no effect on it. That's not what's making it start a new line. What's making it start a new line is the fact that this is another P element, okay? And H1 is also block. So every time you have one of those, it starts a new line. To give you an example, let's say I do a link here, okay? So I'm just going to manually, or I'm going to okay, we'll just, whatever that is. That's a really long one. I don't know why they had all those bits in there. Let's just get rid of that. Okay. Okay. And I'm just going to take this, and I'll just Control-C, and enter Control-V, and enter and Control-V. Now notice, these are starting on a new line down here, but they go straight across. These are called inline elements, because basically, they don't start on a new line until it gets to the end. So if I squish this really tight, you'll see it's going to come. See, then it will start to do it. But as soon as there's enough room, let's go a little bit farther. As soon as there's enough room, they'll start to, they'll go back to this. Okay, so that's just because of wrapping. So these are considered inline. what you can do is you can force these to be one or the other. So for instance, for paragraph 2, I could do tab. Ugh, this is annoying. I don't know why it's doing that. So shift tab. Okay, we'll just tab. And we're going to go ahead and do display. And we're going to go ahead and make it inline. Oops, not inline L, inline. And what you're going to notice is that this next part here starts as inline. Let's do this. Let's do P in general. Now you'll see it looks like the paragraphs just keep going one after the other because they're both inline. So wherever the one ends, the other one just automatically starts. It disregards the fact that that's like that. Okay. So inline will force it to do that. Now if we do the opposite, so let's say I do A's here. They already were inline. I could do block, and that will force them to stack like they're on like they're the other type. Okay. So basically you can force the different elements that are naturally one way or the other, you can force them to be inline or block. And there's also inline block, which that's probably what I would tell you to do most of the time. Basically, it's kind of it's a little bit of both. Generally speaking, if you're trying to make something, that's it'll allow it to like exist as one chunk, like the background, and it'll be a nice structured box when you do inline block. However, it will also allow it to stack when it gets too compressed. So it has a little bit of both. If you just did straight inline or on these, if you did straight block, obviously it's going to stack. But if we did straight inline, you'll notice that when you try to format them, they won't format the way that you expect. So a lot of times you end up using inline block. It'll make more sense later on when we go to do that. Okay. And then you can turn visibility, make something hidden or not. We're not really going to use that, honestly. Pseudo-Classes. Okay, so basically what this allows us to do is format. It's an extra value or extra attribute to a thing. So the most common one that you're going to see is on A's. Okay, so I think I have ones in here already, right? Okay, great. So what I can do is I just did A, and we'll just do A, and then I'm just going to do, let's say, color. Color. And then we're going to click on color picker and make it red. Okay. So that's going to make it red. But normally what we want to do is you do A, link, okay, which isn't going to look like it did anything. That's just like the default what it looks like. Then you do A, and then we'll do hover. And then we'll again do color. I just want to show you. If I hover over it, see it doesn't do anything? I'll do color picker, and we'll make it green. Now, put semicolon. Oh, cool. I like how it put it at the end there. All right. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Now, when I go over here, you'll see when I hover over it, see it turns green? So there's visited. That's when you go and click on a link and come back to it. So, for instance, you see when I hover over this, I have it set to green. And the link's supposed to be blue. Oh, see, I already clicked on it, so that's why it's showing visited. But these don't have the formatting. Anyway, and A is yellow as focus. Anyway, you honestly don't really. I don't usually set these. I just set the hover and the link. Okay. All right. So navigation. Oh, that'd be the next section. Okay. So those are the pseudo classes. I didn't do pseudo elements yet. Maybe I forgot those. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's that section.